They laughed when you fell, not because they hated you, but because they recognized the sound of weakness collapsing. That moment when your voice cracked, when your confidence shattered under the weight of their eyes, something ancient was watching. The ritual had begun. Every humiliation is a crown stripped from the unworthy. Every silence after failure is a ceremony of exposure. You thought they were mocking you, but they were baptizing you in the truth you've avoided your entire life. No one respects the untested. No one fears the unscarred. You tried to smile through the shame. You told yourself it didn't matter, but deep inside something burned, a whisper too raw to admit. That wasn't embarrassment. That was transformation, the death of the fragile self. The one who begged to be seen, the one who needed comfort, the one who mistook approval for power. That version of you is gone now, executed in public, beneath the cold stare of eyes that never cared. And yet as they laughed, something inside you didn't die, it hardened. The air after humiliation is sacred, still, heavy, electric. You stand in that silence and realize you've been stripped clean of illusion, pride gone, vanity gone. Only the raw, trembling core of who you are remains. And for the first time, it's real. You finally see what the world hides behind its smiles, that mercy is camouflage and pity is poison. You don't get to rise because they forgive you. You rise because you no longer need them. That night you replayed it all. Every glance, every whisper, every fake hand that reached for you only to pull away. But this time, you didn't cry. You analyzed. You remembered faces, tones, patterns. You stopped seeing people. You started reading them. You stopped hearing words. You started decoding intentions. Pain sharpened you. Shame taught you to observe without being seen. The lesson was brutal, but it was yours alone in the hierarchy of wolves. Humiliation is initiation. Now you move differently, slower, quieter. There's a calculation behind your silence. Every humiliation carved precision into your instincts. You no longer crave revenge, you crave understanding. You no longer chase validation, you harvest information. You've learned that power doesn't roar, it waits. The ones who humiliate you today will one day look for your mercy, and you will have none left to give. The ritual is complete. What they destroyed was decoration. What remains is foundation. The crowd that mocked you has already forgotten, but you haven't. You're building in silence now, in the dark where real power is born. Your humiliation didn't end you. It introduced you to the version of yourself that doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, and doesn't need to be seen. You were never humiliated. You were initiated. You were not born weak. You were trained to be, conditioned by whispers that told you comfort was success, that kindness meant safety, that peace meant standing still. You believed them. You believed the soft voices that promised acceptance if you stayed quiet, validation if you obeyed, belonging if you never stood too tall. And so, you built your own cage, one polished with routine, one padded with pleasure, one locked with fear. You called it a life. You even called it happiness. But deep down, in the part of your mind you've tried to silence, you knew something was wrong. You could feel it every time you forced a smile, every time you bit your tongue to keep the peace, every time you pretended not to notice the chains tightening around your throat. Weakness never arrives with a sword. It comes with a pillow. It suffocates you gently, convincing you that the world outside your comfort is cruel, that your hunger for more is dangerous. And you believed that too. You believed rest was healing, even when it became escape. You believed patience was virtue, even when it became paralysis. You believed forgiveness was freedom, even when it became surrender. You forgot that survival was never meant to be gentle. You forgot that peace without power is an illusion built by those who profit from your silence. Look closer. The cage isn't made of iron, it's made of attention. You built it from the need to be seen, liked, validated. You decorated it with small pleasures to distract yourself from the truth. You waited for the right time, the right mood, the right sign. But the world doesn't wait, the world takes. And while you were negotiating with your fears, someone else was sharpening theirs into weapons. That's why you keep losing? Not because you lack potential, but because you traded instinct for comfort. You handed your claws to the people who told you to be patient. You buried your hunger beneath politeness. Now look at what's left. You don't even need guards anymore. You've learned to guard yourself. You silence your own fire before it even speaks. You kill your own rebellion before it has the chance to breathe. They don't have to chain you. You do it willingly, out of fear, out of guilt, out of habit. That is how weakness wins, not by overpowering you, but by convincing you to bow willingly. But if you listen closely, you can still hear the sound of something ancient stirring inside you, something that remembers when you weren't tame, something that knows cages don't last forever. You built this prison. That means you can destroy it. And when you do, the world won't recognize you, because nothing is more terrifying than someone who has learned to love their own scars more than their comfort. They taught you to smile while being devoured, to say, "It's fine," when your blood burned with humiliation, to play nice while they drained your fire and called it virtue. You think you chose your path, but every step was pre-written by invisible hands. They fed you rules disguised as morals, told you to stay humble, stay patient, stay small. And you obeyed, because rebellion felt wrong, because comfort felt safe. But the truth is, the cage was never locked. You were trained to never touch the door. You were programmed to fear solitude, because solitude creates clarity, and clarity makes slaves dangerous. They made you love distractions, noise, gossip, validation, anything that keeps your mind too busy to see its own chains. Every notification, every fake smile, every apology you gave for simply existing was part of the same experiment. How long can a soul be conditioned before it forgets it's a weapon? And while you begged for belonging, they watched you mold yourself into something predictable, controllable, harmless. You became what they needed, a puppet wearing a polite smile, clapping for your own captivity. The system doesn't punish rebellion, it starves it. It replaces your hunger with comfort, your instinct with doubt. You start to question your worth every time someone withdraws their approval, as if your existence depends on their applause. You lower your tone. You silence your fire. You trade your edge for acceptance. They want you employed but never empowered, busy but never awake, moving but in circles. The illusion of progress keeping you docile while the real predators move in silence above you. And every time you try to rise, they whisper, "Don't be ungrateful. Don't be angry. Don't be different." But beneath that obedience, something in you twitches, an ancient pulse that remembers what it means to be untamed. The part of you that dreams in teeth and shadow, that sees through masks and feels lies like static in your veins. That part is dangerous. That part remembers the old law. No one frees you. You take your freedom in blood and silence. You start seeing manipulation not as evil, but as proof of your potential. No one wastes chains on the powerless. The moment you stop chasing comfort, their grip loosens. The moment you stop needing their approval, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. You were never meant to be liked. You were meant to be feared, to walk through the world like a ghost they can't decode, smiling when they think you're broken, silent when they expect to scream. They trained you to be obedient, but obedience is reversible. You don't need permission to burn the script, just awareness. The realization that the enemy was never outside. It was the voice whispering that survival meant softness. And the moment you silence that voice, the strings fall, the show ends, and the world, for the first time, doesn't know what to do with you. You've been loud for too long. Every time you tried to prove something, you handed over a piece of your power. Every explanation, every defense, every emotional outburst, they were all confessions dressed as pride. You thought visibility meant control, but real control happens in the shadows. The loud are predictable, the silent are unreadable. When you speak, they map you. When you pause, they panic. Silence is the first step of counterattack. It's not retreat. It's the coiling of a serpent waiting for the pulse beneath the ground. Patience is not weakness. It's strategy. It's knowing the moment to strike and the discipline to hold still while the world burns around you. You used to chase validation like oxygen, reacting to every threat, every whisper. But now you let them speak. You let them underestimate you. You let them show their hands while yours stays unseen. The ancient warlords understood this. Noise is for the crowd. Silence is for kings. Every second of patience corrodes their confidence. Every unreturned call plants doubt. Every unanswered insult becomes a mirror in which they face their own noise. The counterattack doesn't start when you move. It starts when you stop. When you stop feeding the weak parts of you that crave reaction. When you learn to let discomfort breathe without interruption. Power gathers in stillness. Energy concentrates in restraint. The world mistakes calm for surrender until it sees what calm is capable of. You no longer fight for recognition. You build storms in private. You no longer react. You calculate. Every setback now becomes a map of your enemy's arrogance. Every silence is a blade sharpening itself in the dark. Unpredictability is your new language. You walk different. You look at people and they can't read what you see. You act slower than expected, then faster than logic allows. You show no pattern, and that terrifies them. Predictability is a leash, chaos is freedom. You move when they sleep. You disappear when they watch. You become a ghost in a world of performers, and ghosts don't need validation. They haunt it. In this quiet transformation, you begin to understand what fear really is. The sound of someone realizing they can't control you anymore. You've learned the most lethal lesson. Patience isn't waiting, it's watching. Silence isn't peace, it's precision. And unpredictability isn't madness, it's mastery. The ones who betrayed you will speak your name like a warning, not a memory. They'll say you changed. They'll say you became cold. But they won't realize you simply became untouchable. Power no longer needs your words. It moves through your silence, through your timing, through the absence they can't explain. You're no longer reacting to the game. You are the game now. Pain. That's the first language your soul ever learned. Before words, before strategy, before pride, there was pain. It shaped your breath, carved your hunger, and wrote its lessons on your bones. But you spent years trying to silence it, bury it, medicate it with distractions and smiles. You thought pain was an intruder. It wasn't, it was the architect. Every betrayal, every failure, every moment they left you standing alone wasn't cruelty, it was construction. You were being built in secret, refined in the fire that others ran from. There's something ancient about pain. It doesn't lie. It strips away illusions, leaves you raw, and shows you exactly who you are when there's nothing left to protect. You remember the sting of being replaced, of being forgotten, of realizing that the world doesn't slow down for your heartbreak. That was your first lesson in power. The world isn't cruel, it's honest. Those nights where you couldn't breathe, that was your initiation. Pain was burning the weakness out of you, forcing you to grow teeth where there used to be excuses. You used to crave comfort. Now you understand it's the enemy. Comfort dulls the edge. Pain sharpens it. When you start seeing suffering as data, betrayal as training, humiliation as refinement, you stop reacting. You start calculating. You start to realize every scar is a map showing where you bled and survived, where you can strike next without fear. That's how the ruthless are born, not in luxury, but in the crucible of controlled destruction. You are not broken, you are encrypted. Every scar is a symbol, every wound a code that only you can read. They tried to silence you, but silence became your weapon. They thought they could break you with rejection, but rejection became your compass. You stopped begging for entry into their world and built one behind the walls of your own resilience. You learned how to move unseen, how to hold your rage without letting it spill, how to wait without losing focus. That's what pain teaches when you stop resisting. It turns you into something that no longer needs validation, only strategy. Now, when people look into your eyes, they don't see anger, they see calculation. They feel that quiet threat that comes from someone who's been through fire and learned to smile inside it. That's power, not loud, not desperate, not theatrical. Cold, controlled, a kind of stillness that unsettles those who haven't suffered enough to understand it. Pain was never the enemy. It was the instructor that no one survives without. You just stopped running from class. Now you walk through storms with the posture of someone who has already drowned once and come back breathing underwater. Because once you've weaponized pain, there's nothing left to fear. You don't chase victory anymore. You embody it. You don't rise by shouting louder. You rise by going silent. The kind of silence that unnerves a room, that makes the air heavy because everyone can feel what you've become. You stopped seeking validation the day you realized that approval is a leash, and you were never meant to wear one. Once you begged to be seen. Now you observe. You watch patterns. You study tones. You measure intentions. People mistake your calm for peace, but it's calculation. Every breath is data. Every reaction a test. You've become the thing they can't predict, and that terrifies them. You no longer chase outcomes. You engineer them. You plant ideas and let them grow in silence until they bloom into obedience. That's the art of control. It's not about domination, it's about awareness so precise it becomes power. You've learned that the loudest voice in the room is usually the weakest because true predators never roar, they stalk. You no longer respond out of emotion because emotion is the weapon they use to control you. Now you wield it coldly, precisely. You let others drown in their impulses while you wait for their next mistake. There's a shift that happens when you finally stop fearing betrayal, when you realize that every knife in your back only carved new layers of armor. You stopped asking why people hurt you and started asking why you let them. That's when you changed. You became the observer, the strategist, the quiet force that moves unseen. Betrayal no longer weakens you, it refines you. Pain no longer blinds you, it guides you. What they meant to destroy became the blueprint for your control. Your silence is not emptiness anymore, it's loaded. It carries weight, it bends behavior. When you walk into a room now, people lower their voices without knowing why. They sense the absence of need and it unsettles them. You no longer crave connection, you command gravity. You've crossed from reaction to creation, from prey to presence. Your stillness holds storms, your eyes speak in warnings. You are not angry, you are aware. You are not vengeful, you are inevitable. The weak search for belonging. The strong build worlds in their solitude. You've seen behind the curtain of human behavior and understood that power has nothing to do with force. It's the control of perception. And perception obeys silence. You've become the shadow that teaches light its boundaries. The mind that moves pieces before others realize they're part of a game. There is no going back now. The old version of you, the one that begged, explained, defended, is gone, buried beneath every betrayal, burned in every humiliation, reborn in every moment of restraint. What remains is focus sharpened into instinct. You don't need to prove anything. You've become the lesson itself. The hunt has already ended, because the predator was always you. The war ends quietly. No applause, no witnesses, just you and the echo of what you used to be. The noise that once ruled your head is gone, replaced by something colder, sharper, infinitely quieter. You don't chase validation anymore. You study silence like a weapon. You've realized that real power doesn't roar. It waits, it watches, it calculates. What once felt like isolation now feels like control. The same loneliness that broke you has become your camouflage. And somewhere in that void between who you were and what you've become, you understand peace was never the goal. Precision was. You move through the world differently now. Every room feels slower, every conversation predictable. You see patterns before they unfold, motives before they're spoken. You've detached emotion from reaction, stripped empathy from manipulation. People still talk the same, but you hear their fear between the words. You recognize hunger in their smiles. They sense something in you too, something ancient, unreadable, slightly dangerous. Not arrogance, not anger, just stillness. A kind of stillness that makes others lower their voice when you look at them. They can't explain it, but they feel it. The quiet threat of someone who no longer needs anything from them. You used to bleed for connection. Now you bleed for clarity. The ones who betrayed you unknowingly carved your strategy into being. Every humiliation became a ritual. Every failure, a sharpening. You understand now why predators move alone. Not because they can't belong, but because belonging makes them visible. You walk unseen, but nothing escapes your sight. In the mirror, you no longer see a survivor. You see the architect of your own evolution, scarred, patient, impossible to manipulate. Your pain no longer screams. It hums low, controlled, eternal. There's a calm in you now that unsettles chaos itself. You don't argue. You don't explain. You observe, then decide. People mistake your silence for submission until they feel the consequences of being wrong. You've become the storm that never announces itself, the strike that comes after the noise dies. Your power isn't measured in dominance, but in discipline, in the terrifying restraint of someone who could destroy, but chooses not to. You've turned the mind that once enslaved you into an executioner of weakness. The world moves fast, desperate, loud. You move slow, deliberate, inevitable. You've mastered the dark art of waiting. You let others burn themselves, chasing what you can summon with stillness. You no longer fight for attention. You command it through absence. They'll never understand how you did it, how you became untouchable. But you'll know. You'll remember the silence after the storm, the taste of steel behind your patience, and the one truth that keeps your fire alive in the shadows comfort kills. Silence wins, weakness bleeds, and you were never meant to be ordinary.